7 Insane Daily Habits That Shock Your Confidence Forever. The Untold Truth of Stoicism. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows over the small town of Waverley. They say everyone has secrets, but this community held an unsettling darkness, habits so bizarre they could turn your confidence upside down. Whispers rolled through the streets like wind, carrying unthinkable tales. On a backyard swing, a girl once claimed that staring into a mirror every day would reveal your deepest fears. Was it just a game, or did she know something that chilled your bones? Then there was Old Man McAllister, a resident legend, who swore he could predict the weather with a mere glance at the sky, or was it the flick of a crow's feather? He'd look you dead in the eyes, a twinkle of something ancient flickering behind them, and tell you your day would change, just like that. People would laugh, but when strange rains began to fall under blue skies, laughter froze into disbelief. The sensation of tightness filled your chest, as unsettling as the town brimming with stories better left unheard, and the library, oh, the library. Dark shelves that seemed to whisper secrets, books with dog-eared pages filled with knowledge that shouldn't be touched. They claimed those who read from the forbidden section would experience haunting dreams, dreams that showed them paths they never thought possible. Those who dared to venture found themselves waking with sweat-drenched beds and racing hearts, feeling the weight of their unspoken fears lingering. As the tension climbed, curiosity hooked the townsfolk. What might happen if they dared to embrace one strange habit or another? The promise of transformation danced in the air. Yet, just as excitement brewed, shadows crept in. The scene around them held a palpable unease. Glances between friends turned furtive, murmurs grew louder. What happens when curiosity leads you too far down the rabbit hole? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As voices raised and emotions boiled, a shadow fell over Waverley. An unsettling chill ran through the air, the scent of something burning wafted from a distant home. Was it mere coincidence, or was the town finally feeling the repercussions of its secrets? Sally, a vibrant, spirited soul, stood at the center of it all, trembling hands clutching a tattered book that promised answers. But would she find clarity or awaken something darker, something that could shake the very foundation of their lives? What had she unleashed? The question lingered, making hearts race and minds whirl, and then, just like that, the resonant silence fell, leaving everyone hanging on that very edge. Sally's heart raced as she felt the weight of that book in her hands. It pulsed with energy, a heartbeat of its own, almost daring her to open it. A crackle of electricity sparked in the air. Deep down, she knew the town's buried secrets stirred, hungry for discovery, for exposure. The scent of smoke thickened, intertwining with the anxious breaths of the crowd forming around her. Curious faces pressed closer, some visibly excited, others stricken with apprehension. "What did you find?" a voice called out, echoing the question that haunted them all. She felt their eyes piercing through her, seeking solace or answers that lay hidden in the pages. Gingerly, she opened the book. Dark ink met her gaze, twisting and curling upon the page. Words that felt almost alive. The first line she read sent a chill crawling up her spine. "The truth shall consume you, and in that consumption, a monstrous revelation awaits." Gasps erupted from the onlookers. An ominous shroud enveloped Waverley, as if night crept closer to engulf them. Faces turned pale. Old fears bubbled to the surface as memories of strange occurrences danced in their minds. Disembodied whispers in the wind, flickering lights that plunged homes into darkness, and the townsfolk who simply vanished. "Stop! Close that book!" shouted May, Sally's childhood friend, her voice fraying with panic. "You don't know what you're doing." But her words fell flat against the rising tension. Sally turned another page, and with it, the ground beneath them trembled slightly. A ripple of unease swept through the crowd. They staggered backward as if fearing the earth might crack open to swallow them whole. "Look!" shouted a boy from the back. Everyone turned just in time to see Old Man McAllister, his gnarled finger pointing skyward. "The crows, they're restless." The once peaceful sky ignited with chaos as dark clouds rolled in, blocking the last rays of the sun, plunging the town into an unsettling twilight. Crows cawed angrily, their frenzied flapping echoing the rising hysteria among the villagers. Each hoarse call seemed to reverberate with a dark promise, as if warning them of the curtains that were about to fall on their lives. As she stared at the now blank page of the book, a solitary sentence flickered into existence, chilling her to the bone: "What you bury will claw its way back to the surface." Panic set in. She could feel her hands trembling, slick with sweat. Was it true? Had she awakened something that had long lain dormant? What if the very fears they tried to escape now surged forth, demanding acknowledgement? "Run!" May screamed, tearing through the crowd like a wild animal. Others followed suit, their primal instincts kicking in. But Sally remained frozen, not from fear but from intrigue. The mystery clung to her, it felt almost magnetic. Just then, a thunderous crash echoed from the library, like the sound of thousands of books crashing to the floor, breaking the spell cast over her. Without thinking, Sally sprinted towards the noise, the book clutched tightly to her chest, heart racing wildly. What was about to unfold could change everything. Was she prepared to face the truth that lingered in the shadows, lurking just beyond the edge of her grasp? A crack of lightning illuminated the darkened sky as she rushed forward, the world falling into chaos behind her. But would she dive headfirst into danger or flee from the abyss closing in around her? The moment felt electric. Her fate and that of Waverly teetered dangerously, on the brink of unraveling. Determined, she pushed forward, heedless of the madness, convinced there was something waiting for her, something that would force her to confront the darkness woven into the very fabric of her life. What awaited her in that library, amid the echoes of trapped knowledge, was a mystery yet unsolved, and it was calling her name. Sally burst through the library doors, her breath coming in sharp gasps. The once familiar scent of old paper and ink now felt heavy with a foreboding weight. Inside, books were strewn across the floor, as if a tempest had unleashed its fury on this sacred place. Dim light flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows that danced across the walls. She focused on the back of the room, where the source of the crash seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. A row of bookcases lay toppled, forming a makeshift barricade. There, amidst the chaos, stood a figure draped in darkness, tall, thin, and shrouded in a black coat. "Who are you?" Sally's voice trembled but rang out sharply in the midst of the growing tension. No answer came at first. The figure remained still, the air thickening around him. With each second that passed, an unshakable intuition crawled over her skin, warning her to retreat. But the pull of the book clutched to her chest was stronger. Something irresistible beckoned her forward. "Are you the one who?" Sally started, only to be cut off as the figure turned. In the half-light, she recognized him. Angus Blake, the town's reclusive historian known for his wild theories about Waverly's shadowy past. His eyes glinted like shards of glass, and he grinned a wide, unsettling smile devoid of warmth. "You shouldn't have touched that book, Sally." His voice slithered through the air, wrapped in an unsettling calm, reminiscent of the stillness before a storm. "You've opened doors that should remain closed." "What do you mean?" she asked, crossing her arms against an unseen chill. What is happening? Angus stepped closer, the shuffling of his coat adding a sinister whisper to the soundscape. The book reveals the truth of Waverley, yes, but it also invites the darkness to dance. Something stirs, something we buried long ago, and now it longs for release. Sally's pulse quickened as she scanned the room. How could a simple book cause this chaos? The words echoed in her mind, what you bury will claw its way back to the surface. Panic twisted her stomach into knots. Tell me what I need to do, she demanded, refusing to let her fear cripple her resolve. Angus chuckled, the sound sharp and jagged, slicing through her confidence. There is always a cost for knowledge. And the deeper you dive, the more you risk losing part of yourself. Part of myself? The idea unsettled her. What do you know about the book? The pages are inked with bloodline secrets, secrets that bind the very marrow of this town. But what you seek, Sally, isn't merely an answer. It's a reckoning. He extended a hand, revealing its palm covered in strange markings. Face what you uncover, or suffer the consequences. With each utterance, the atmosphere shifted like the shifting of the winds outside, swirling with promises of unveiling and dread. Sally sensed the approaching storm, thickening in pulse and fury. In this dim world of fleet bookcases and distorted shadows, she felt the weight of the town as buried past pressing down upon her. A loud crash echoed from the entrance, as though the crows outside had grown tired of circling above. The windows rattled violently, and a cold draft surged through the library, making her shiver. Had the chaos seeped inside, Sally's eyes darted toward the doorway, and then back to Angus, his smile now an ominous grin. Was it too late to turn back? Could this confrontation shift the balance between her and the darkness, or was she already too ensnared? The unhinged curiosity pulled her, insisting on one more step into the abyss. What is the first step? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Angus leaned closer, his face inches from hers, the allure of his gaze unmistakable, but behind it lay a flicker of something more sinister. Embrace the truth, Sally. Only then will you find your way. But beware, for once the truth is known, it cannot be forgotten. As she stared into those piercing eyes, she felt the ground shift again beneath her, awakening doubts and fears yet unspoken. But the flicker in the back of her mind urged her onward. What truths would she confront, and who would she become in their wake? With one last glance at the wild storm raging outside, Sally knew the only way forward lay through the darkness. Desperation ignited in her heart as she took a step closer to the edge of revelation. As she gripped the book tighter, she pondered if she was truly ready for what lay ahead. Sally's heart raced as she edged closer to Angus, feeling the weight of the book pressing against her chest. The library felt alive, pulsating with a rhythm of its own, as if it were breathing in sync with her growing trepidation. Lightning illuminated the room for a split second, revealing Angus's face, a mask of haunting delight that sent a shiver rippling through her stomach. Why this book? She blurted out, panic creeping back into her voice. What is it hiding? Angus's screen widened, and shadows flickered around him, as if recognizing their master. It holds secrets of Waverley's past, a past too dreadful for the living to comprehend. His voice dripped with a sinister glee that made her want to recoil. What do you mean by dreadful? She pressed, moving cautiously toward him. The tales that sleep beneath these pages tell of power, sacrifice, and darkness, he whispered, his breath chilled with dread. Some chased it, others buried it. But not without a price. Sally looked down at the book, its cover worn, its spine cracked. The very object in her hands now felt like an anchor, tethering her to a dangerous past. She struggled to wrap her mind around what it could mean for her, for the town. She fought against the urge to throw it away, to lock it away in a vault from which no one could ever retrieve it. Thunder cracked overhead, shaking the library's fragile walls. "You mentioned a cost before," she retaliated, her voice trembling but defiantly rising above her fears. "What kind of cost?" "Your sanity," Angus replied, voice laced with sweetness that contrasted with the darkness surrounding him. "Your identity. Some have lost themselves, others lost much worse." The shadows that had once seemed comforting now dropped menacingly, closing in as if to suffocate her. Sally dropped her gaze to the book again, searching for something, an answer, a warning. She was about to speak when a loud crash echoed from the entrance, the sound of splintering wood resonating throughout the library. "What now?" she gasped, instinctively moving closer to Angus, her pulse racing. "Davy arrived," he announced, dread weaving through his chilling tone. "You've awakened them, Sally." An electric thrill coursed through her, igniting every nerve. "Who are they?" She wished to sound tough, but terror rushed in, drowning her bravery. The echoes of the past, those who sought knowledge and paid for it in blood. They roamed in search of what was lost before she could ask more. A figure emerged from the shadows near the entrance. Her breath caught in her throat as she recognized one of her closest friends, Jamie, eyes wide and wild, drenched in rain and clearly panicking. "Sally!" Jamie shouted, breathless. "You need to get out of here." "What are you doing?" Sally called back, her voice tinged with fear and frustration. "What is going on?" "They're coming. We have to leave. Now." Jamie's eyes flicked nervously toward Angus, who stood unmoving, a puppet master reveling in the chaos. As Sally turned back to Angus, his gaze shifted, his face taut with anticipation. "This is what you must face, Sally. Darkness doesn't just allow escape. It demands your choice." Sally's heart pounded harder, each beat a battle drum urging her to decide. Stay and face the ominous truth or flee into the storm. There was no clear answer, only the clamoring echoes of the past swirling around her, hungry and impatient. "Choose wisely, Sally," Angus murmured, that knowing grin now tinged with a hint of something darker. "You'll either claim the light or be claimed by the night." Just as she was about to make a decision, the shadows deepened, and an icy wind swept through the library, forcing books off the shelves, creating a whirlwind of chaos. Something sinister was awakened, and it was closing in fast. "Sally!" Jamie's voice pulled at her, desperate, urgent. With the weight of ancient truths pressing against her chest, Sally was caught between a fraying reality and a dawning nightmare. What would she choose when faced with the unspeakable? Would she confront the shadows, or risk losing herself entirely to the storm brewing within? The power of the book sparkled ominously in her hands, the choice lingering heavy in the air as the shadows writhed in anticipation. Would she embrace the dark and discover the truth that lay within, or would she retreat from the nightmare that had already begun to unfold? The shadows seized the air, twisting and spiraling like tendrils of smoke, threatening to engulf everything in their path. Sally's mind raced. The book pulsed like a heartbeat in her grip, conflicting whispers tugging at her thoughts. Fear clouded her judgment, but so did an unquenchable thirst for truth. Would she dare to confront her fate? "Get away from him!" Jamie yelled, shattering the thick silence. Every word was a rope, pulling Sally back from the edge. But that distraction only made the darkness roar louder. The shadows danced, and from them emerged a chorus of wails, a mournful cacophony that chilled her bones. Frantic memories flickered in her mind, fragments of stories her grandmother told her, tales of spirits and paths lost. Were these ghosts the ones her grandmother warned her about? "Don't listen to them. Stop." Jamie's voice pierced through the noise, as desperate as a lighthouse beam in a storm. "But it's all connected," Sally replied, her voice shaky but resolute amidst the chaos. They want something answers. Angus tilted his head, eyes gleaming with delight like a predator. Oh, but answers come at a terrible price, don't they? His laughter bubbled up, echoing like a death knell. The question is, are you willing to pay? A flash of lightning illuminated the library once more, and in that brief moment, she saw their faces haunted, hollow, searching. They looked so familiar. Who were they? Friends? Lost souls? Or a warning? I don't know, she stammered, directing her gaze from Angus to Jamie, her best friend locked in a battle between terror and determination. What should we do? Run! Jamie screamed, her eyes wide with fear. She reached for Sally's arm, almost pulling her away from Angus's grasp, but Sally couldn't move. The book burned with a strange heat, heating up, radiating power as its pages seemed to flutter on their own. Was it calling her? Was it begging her to uncover its secrets, to understand this chaos? No. You can't. Jamie shouted. Don't let it pull you in. You have to make a choice now. In that moment of tension, the air grew thick and heavy. The shadows crept forward, impatient. Their whispers turned to shouts, drowning Sally's thoughts. Power. Sacrifice. Truth. Once more, lightning surged outside, casting a blinding light. And in its glare, Sally caught a glimpse of the shadows merging into a more defined form, a figure, gaunt and shadow-wreathed, with hollow eyes that glimmered in the dim light. It was someone from her past, a forgotten memory, lost long ago beneath the weight of time. Help us, the echo of the familiar voice pleaded, resonating deep within her. Her heart twisted in her chest. Memories surged like a tidal wave. Would she leave them behind, or stand and face the darkness? Please, Sally. Jamie urged, panic spilling into her voice, snapping her back to reality. They're dangerous. We need to go. Sally looked at Jamie, then back at the book, her heart pounding an erratic rhythm. This wasn't just about her anymore. The shadows were hungry, grasping for lives, for souls, her soul. Behind her, the doors slammed shut, sealing them inside, trapping them in the embrace of shadows and echoes. She inhaled deeply, the air thick with magic and dread, and something in her stirred a rush of resolve, a flicker of bravery. One choice. One truth. Would she dive into the chasm or pull Jamie to safety? But before she could decide, a scream erupted from the darkness outside, reverberating against the library walls. It was a sound that pierced through fear and rang with horror. Don't look back! Jamie yelled, eyes darting to the entrance. Then what do we do? Sally shouted back, desperation clawing her voice. As the shadows receded and the moment stilled, a whisper danced around her, promising revelations and untold power. It beckoned her to embrace the darkness, but the sound of Jamie's panicked breaths pulled her closer to the light. Time is running out. As they stood on the precipice of decision, the library quaked, the air thickening with the weight of their choices. What would happen to them if they ventured further into the dark? Would they ever escape, or lose themselves completely within the tales that locked them in? The truth was at their fingertips, yet the cost loomed larger than life. Sally's breath quickened as the darkness morphed around them, shifting like a living entity. The whisper of the shadow started in and out of focus, wrapping around her like a cold mist. Every instinct screamed for her to move, to escape, but the book pulsed in her hands, demanding her attention, weaving its sinister allure into her very bones. Make a decision. Jamie's voice broke through the haze, shaking with urgency. Now, Sally. A new sound echoed, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to originate from the shadows themselves. It sent tremors of dread coursing through her. This wasn't just about her anymore. Whatever fate awaited them felt intertwined with that ancient book. Was it a key or a trap? Do we fight or flee? Sally asked, her voice shaking as the shadows danced closer. They blurred, weaving around Jamie's legs, and energy crackled in the air, intermixing with a bitter chill. A haunting figure inched forward, its hollow eyes boring into her, stirring an instinct deep within her that screamed for her to remember. Pull back! Jamie shouted, yanking on Sally's shirt. Don't let them take you. But that voice, the one pleading for help, echoed in her mind again. It was a voice she recognized, a voice muffled by time and distance. It could be the key. Maybe I can help them, she murmured, half to herself, half to Jamie. Help who? Jamie spat, a fresh wave of panic bubbling to the surface. Don't let it fool you. They're not what they seem. Sally could feel the pull of those lost souls, the anguish swirling around them. They aimed to take her deeper, to unveil hidden truths. I can't let them keep suffering, Jamie. Then what about you? Jamie's frustration morphed into fear, her grip tightening around Sally's wrist. You could lose everything. Lightning flashed again, forcing their eyes to widen. For a brief heartbeat, the library filled with light. Sally's heart raced as she saw more faces, tormented expressions, screaming out in silent agony. It was like a window into her past, each face flickering with a warning she couldn't quite decipher. Before she could contemplate further, Angus's sinister laughter echoed through the chamber. Every whisper and every gaze, they all point to you, dear Sally. The choices you make will ignite a conflagration you can't extinguish. Without warning, the book emitted a searing light, blinding them momentarily. In that moment of disorientation, Jamie pulled Sally away from the grasping shadows, a burst of adrenaline coursing through them. We're not staying. We're leaving. But as they turned, the library trembled more violently, with the shelves rattling. Books tumbled to the ground like falling rain. The lights flickered, and the whispers reached a fevered pitch, fueling the urgency that threatened to consume them. Through the chaos, something inside her stirred a glimpse of courage. If they want something from us, then we have to confront it. The thought ignited a fire in her heart. Are you insane? Jamie cried, eyes wide. You can't seriously mean that. It's too dangerous. I want to let them stay trapped. Sally shouted back. The choice loomed larger than ever, the weight of it threatening to crush her. As Sally stepped forward, she felt an electric charge in the air. The shadows responded, recoiling as if sensing her determination. But even as she felt emboldened, that familiar voice returned, echoing with haunting urgency. Help us, it's too late. Jamie yelled. But before she could reiterate her fear, a sudden explosion of force rippled through the library. The shadows howled, and the room around them seemed to fracture. The ground cracked and shifted, darkness spilling into the light, creating an ominous chasm at their feet. Hold on! Jamie shrieked, grabbing Sally tightly as the floor splintered. We can't fall in. Sally's heart pounded as she teetered on the brink. We need to know the truth. As the shadows clawed, the murmurs transformed into rage, surging towards them. The illusions were fading, threatening to consume everything in their wake. With no sense of retreat, she realized that confrontation wasn't just inevitable, it was their only option. Then let us uncover it. She shouted, her resolve solidifying, and just as they prepared to leap into the dark abyss, a blinding light exploded from the book, illuminating everything in an intense glow. What awaited them now? In the grasp of fate and shadows, was the truth truly worth the price? In the flickering light, time froze, and they teetered on the edge of a world that could change everything. The blinding light surged, overwhelming every corner of the library. Colors that had been unknown splashed against the walls, merging chaos and clarity in an unexpected frenzy. Sally squinted, clinging to Jamie as she was drawn closer to the brilliant glow. "What is happening?" Jamie yelled over the cacophony of the angry shadows. Her voice flickered in and out, much like the erratic sparks lighting the room. "I don't know," Sally shouted back, her heart racing. She was awash in an unsettling mix of fear and exhilaration. "But I think we're about to find out." The pain and anguish from the shadows turned to whispers of awe, a sudden shift that broke the tension for just a moment. The air crackled with unseen energy, pulsating in rhythm with the book. Fragments of visions filled her mind, echoes of lives lived, hopes dashed, and a singular truth aching to break free. "Stay focused." Jamie pulled her back, grounding her as the light enveloped them. But Sally felt herself slipping away, past the weight of the moment, towards something more profound. The book beckoned with the promise of revelation. A figure emerged from the light, a silhouette defined by shadow and brilliance. It stepped closer, revealing familiar features twisted with anguish. Sally's breath caught in her throat as recognition flooded her senses. "No, it can't be Mom," she whispered, horrified. The figure nodded, sorrow evident in her hollow eyes. "Sally, you must understand. There is so much you don't know." Jamie staggered back, her face pale. "What is this? Is this some sort of illusion?" "No. This is the truth," the apparition said, her voice soft yet firm. "You are intertwined with the fate of those you see. The suffering isn't just in the shadows, it's a part of you." Sally shook her head, disbelief coursing through her. "You left, you didn't even say goodbye." Her mother's expression shimmered, torn between joy and pain. "I had to protect you, sweetheart. But the shadows, those trapped souls, they're fighting for release, just as you must fight to unearth your own past." The ground shook again, splintering open wider at their feet. Sally felt the edges of her reality fraying, the pull of something darker dragging at her. "I can't lose you again. You want tea. You are stronger than this, Sally," her mother urged. "You have a choice. Will you face what lies inside, or will you let the shadows extinguish your light?" Jamie grabbed Sally's arm, desperation flashing in her eyes. "We need to move, Sally. Whatever this is, it's dangerous." Torn between the past and the encroaching darkness, Sally hesitated. "But what if this is the key? What if? Time is running out." Jamie shouted, urgency bleeding into her tone as shadows began creeping closer, snarling like wild animals. With heavy breaths, Sally glanced from Jamie to the figure of her mother, the warmth of hope warring with the cold grip of fear. "I need to know." The room trembled, fractals of light piercing the oppressive gloom. The whispers surged in intensity, a chaotic harmony that enthralled and terrified. "Then find your truth," her mother urged, her form starting to flicker. "Only then will you free us all. I believe in you, Sally." The shadows lunged, reaching for her with clawed fingers, their hunger unmistakable. Sally clenched the book tight against her chest, heart pounding like a war drum. "I won't let you take me. I choose to fight." With that declaration, she stepped forward, plunging into the blinding light, feeling an electrifying surge coursing through her veins. Was this the answer she sought, or another layer of deception waiting to swallow her whole? As she fell deeper into the unknown, the raucous cries of shadows echoed behind her, and she realized they were the voices of her past, clamoring for a reckoning. In that weightless moment, would she find the courage needed to rewrite the ending, or would the shadows claim her forever? And then, with a final breath of resolve, everything went dark. The darkness enveloped her like a dense fog, heavy and suffocating. Sally felt suspended between worlds, caught in a moment that twisted and warped time. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Instead, the anxious beating of her heart became the only voice echoing in the void. Suddenly, the darkness rippled, splintering into shards of light, revealing scenes from her childhood. She saw herself playing in the park, laughter bubbling over her like sunlight. Then, the image shifted, a broken vase, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Mom!" The child cried, but the figure faded, leaving behind only shadows flickering in the wind. Sally tried to reach out, but her body felt weightless, as if she were tethered to something beyond her understanding. A new presence surged beside her, engulfing her thoughts. It was as if the shadows were alive, swirling around, their whispers merging into a haunting chant. Face the truth, they chanted endlessly, echoing like an ominous drum in her ears. "Stop! Just stop!" Sally screamed, her voice finally breaking through. "What do you want from me?" And then, without warning, the visions changed. She was thrust into a room she barely recognized, filled with flickering candlelight. The warm glow illuminated a table stacked high with dusty books and papers. In the corner, a lone bookshelf towered over her, creaking ominously under the weight of memories. Shadows slid down the walls, creeping towards the books as if attracted by a magnetic force. One book caught her attention, a familiar title, The Light and Shadow Within. With trembling hands, she pulled it from the shelf. A rush of memories flooded her mother reading from that very book, her soothing voice filling the midnight air, wrapped with emotion. But alongside those memories surged a feeling of dread, the shadows now clawing their way toward her. "You shouldn't have come here," a voice screeched, slicing through the air like ice. The shadows writhed, twisting into grotesque shapes, their faces contorted in anguish and rage. Sally's heart raced as she felt a surge of anger. "You don't scare me," she shouted, clenching the book tightly, its spine warming beneath her fingers. "You're just fear. You don't own me." The shadows recalled, hissing as if her words struck them. For an instant, the room brightened, the candles shining brighter, illuminating the terror etched into their forms. They hesitated, and in that tiny moment of triumph, Sally understood. "I choose to confront you," she declared, her voice steady now, fueled by the memories of love and light she had clung to before. "I'm not afraid of my past. I own it." With each word, the light from the book flared, pushing back against the darkness. The shadows shrieked in unison, their forms flickering like dying embers. For a second, it felt as if the very fabric of reality was tearing apart, and then, the room exploded into brightness. The shadows screeched one last time, recoiling, sinking back into the corners. The light enveloped Sally, cradling her in warmth, lifting her above the chaos, but just as she began to feel safe, the surroundings started to distort again, swirling into a kaleidoscope of images and sounds. Her heart sank as a chilling realization crept into her mind: this wasn't over. Something was coming. Before she could gather her thoughts, a figure stepped into the beam of light beside her. It was an ancient woman with piercing eyes that seemed to see right through her. The woman whispered, "Do you truly wish to know your truth, Sally?" Her chest tightened, and she felt the weight of countless shadows still tethered to her soul. The air crackled with potential, and she understood the battle was just beginning. "Who are you? What do you know about me?" Sally demanded, sensing the gravity of the choice ahead. The old woman smiled sadly. "Everything you seek lies within the darkness and far beyond what you can imagine. Will you leap into the unknown?" Sally felt a knot in her stomach. Could she trust this strange woman? The darkness still lingered, a silent threat, awaiting her next move. Sally took a breath, steeling herself for the answer she both dreaded and yearned for. What happens if I choose my truth? She whispered, feeling the intensity build around her, a storm brewing on the horizon of her consciousness. The woman's smile widened, her voice echoing ominously, truth has its price, my dear, and with that, the light flickered, shadows lurking at the edges, as Sally braced herself for the most profound revelations yet. Would she survive the trials to come, or would the depths of her past consume her once and for all? The light dimmed, swirling into hazy patterns, leaving Sally encased in turmoil. Her instincts yelled at her to flee, but her feet remained rooted. The ancient woman stayed still, her gaze steady, piercing into the shadows of Sally's fears. What must I do? Sally asked, her voice trembling but laced with urgency. She felt the heartbeat of the universe beneath her skin, each thumb like a ticking clock, urging her forward. Embrace your truth, the woman replied softly, yet each word struck like thunderclaps in her head. But know this, the truth can be a double-edged sword. Are you ready to bear its weight? A chill rippled through her, cold and biting, as the fear of the unknown kissed her with icy fingers. What if I can't handle it? The woman stepped closer, and the shadows encroaching on them seemed to hesitate, as if they were watching and waiting. What you fear is what you must face. The shadows do not simply exist, they are reflections of your regrets, your deepest sorrows. You must uncover them to understand your light. Sally inhaled sharply, the burden heavy on her chest. Memories surged forward, glimpses of her past weaved with threads of laughter and woven with pain. She could almost taste the bitterness of choices unmade, words unsaid, the weight of a life half-lived. Could truth truly set her free, or would it crush her spirit? With resolve stirring within, she summoned every ounce of courage. I want to confront them. I want to know my truth. The woman's expression shifted, her melancholy eyes glinting with something akin to approval. Very well, Sally. But understand, knowing too much can hurt. The shadows flickered violently, as if agitated by the very air around them. They called back, retreating from the light with a desperate frustration. The ancient woman waved her hand, and the world around Sally fractured, images pouring into view like a movie unfurling. She was suddenly transported to a room flooded with muted colors, the smell of mold and dust thick in the air. A familiar figure sat hunched over a table littered with papers, a younger version of her mother, lost in thought. Sally's chest tightened. Why did this memory sting so sharply? Mom, she breathed, but the younger version didn't look up, trapped in a loop of despair. As she watched, shadows crept back into the edges of this memory, darkness leaking at the hem of her mother's dress, whispering secrets that felt so intimately familiar. Do you see? The ancient woman stated, her voice a low hum. This moment birthed many of your fears. Sally felt herself drifting closer, drawn by the pain wrapped around her mother's shoulders. I just wanted you to be happy, she murmured, but the shadows only grew bolder, closing in like a vice. Your journey cannot be without sacrifice, the woman warned, her voice clear as day even amid the chaos. To find your truth, you must be willing to face your own regrets. My regrets. Sally felt her stomach churn. She had pushed so many feelings aside, pretending they were gone. But now, the reality of her past, bathed in shadow and sorrow, loomed closer than ever. As Sally was pulled deeper into the memory, horrifying images began to sharpen and clarify. The broken vase, the whispered arguments, the day the light in her mother's eyes had dimmed. Suddenly, a great weight settled over her, nearly suffocating. Let it out, Sally, the ancient woman urged, her voice echoing between the past and present. This is the moment to release your truth. A flood of emotions broke free, uncontrolled and raw. Tears streamed down Sally's face as whispers filled her ears. I wasn't there when you needed me, I didn't even try. The shadows curled around her, drinking in her despair. Face your darkness and forge your light, the woman commanded, hands extended, urging Sally to confront what she had long buried. With trembling hands and a quaking heart, Sally steeled her resolve. No more running, she cried, her voice echoing with newfound strength. I won't let you haunt me any longer. As the shadows writhed around her, she sensed a transformative energy surging. Within, the walls of fear beginning to crack. What price would she pay to reclaim her light? Would the confrontation finally liberate her, or plunge her deeper into despair? The darkness hissed, recoiling, but in the distance, the glimmers of radiant truth beckoned. And just as she prepared to dive into the heart of the shadows, the ancient woman's voice reached her again, ominous and low. Only the bravest survived the truth. The air crackled and shimmered as Sally took one more step forward, knowing that whatever awaited her was the only path left to take, and time was running out. The darkness fell away like a curtain, revealing a luminous chamber filled with whispers of hope and sorrow. Sally felt the warmth of a golden light embrace her, pushing back the shadows that gnawed at her edges. The ancient woman stood close, her eyes shimmering with understanding. This is where the reckoning begins, she said, her voice a soft echo. Sally took a deep breath, feeling steady for the first time in ages. I'm ready, she declared, her voice resolute. I want to reclaim what is mine. With a gesture from the ancient woman, the vibrant light around them swirled, and images began to form, moments from Sally's life, preserved like fragile glass. First, she saw her younger self, laughing joyfully with her mother, twirling around in the park. The scene shifted, shadows creeping into the edges, as dark murmurs began echoing her fears. Suddenly, she was pulled into another memory, her last day in this very home before everything changed. Her mother stood in the kitchen, shoulders hunched, tears glistening down her face as she spoke of a loss Sally had barely understood. Sally, sometimes the world can feel like a heavy burden, she whispered, a chill seeping back into Sally's heart. Underneath the facade of an ordinary day, Sally felt the weight of grief, regret slithering beneath the surface. Every unanswered question bubbled to the forefront. I left you behind, she murmured, tears stinging her eyes but a sense of peace beginning to wash over her. I was scared. You were just a child, the woman's voice reminded her gently. You couldn't carry the weight of the world then. But now? Now, you can confront it. Determined to break free, Sally stepped forward. The shadows lunged at her, desperate to reclaim their hold, but she faced them, holding on to the glowing warmth. You cannot consume me, she shouted, her voice echoing like a cannon. I choose to forgive myself. The shadows faltered, as if pressed against an invisible barrier. Light flickered around her, brightening with every passing second. The ancient woman nodded, a proud smile gracing her aged face. Face the hardest truths, she urged, guiding Sally deeper into her memories. Before her fleeted glimpses of deep hardship, the chasm of grief her mother endured, the struggle with loss, and how their lives diverged in silence. Each memory became clearer, each moment more painful, but within those shadows, Sally saw her own reflection, intertwined with her mother's sorrow. You did your best, she whispered aloud, and I couldn't see it. In that unguarded moment, the shadows began to dissipate, retreating further into the corners of the room. She understood now these weren't tormenting spirits but echoes of herself, memories waiting to be acknowledged. As they faded, she glimpsed a brighter memory. Family gatherings filled with laughter, warmth enveloping her, and her mother's encouraging voice urging her to embrace all she was. You have light within you, Sally, her mother's voice sang out, richer than any spectre trying to hold her back. With newfound strength, Sally took one last look at the swirling shadows. You have no power over me. I choose love, for my mother, for me. The declaration rang true, slicing through the fragmented pieces of darkness like a light cutting through fog. And just like that, the shadows erupted in an explosion of light. The library around her transformed into an ethereal world, bathed in golden hues, a manifestation of her triumph over fear. Time unfolded like pages, and she felt herself soaring. The shadows dissipated completely, scattering like leaves in the wind. She could hear Jamie's frantic voice call out from behind her. "Sally! Are you okay?" Sally's pulse raced. She turned to see Jamie emerge into the light, wide-eyed, and enwrapped by a halo of warmth. "It's over. I did it," she proclaimed, her heart full. "I faced the truth, and I'm free." Jamie rushed toward her, enveloping Sally in a tight embrace, shock and relief surging through them like a pour of water through thirsty soil. Then they turned, hand in hand, to face the remnants of the library. Here stood a new beginning, knowing that the shadows would never fully vanish, but they could now coexist with the light they had uncovered together. "We're free," Jamie whispered, a smile breaking over her face. "Yes, we are," Sally breathed out in disbelief, realizing she only had to let go to embrace the beauty of life waiting for her outside. As they stepped through the doors and into the gentle embrace of the evening, the sun finally pierced through the clouds once more. Waverly blazed with color, vibrant and full of life, a reminder that hope always lingers, even in the darkest of moments. Sally knew she wouldn't face the future alone again. She had fought for her truth and, in doing so, found herself. The shadows behind her felt lighter, more like a whisper than a weight, and as they walked out into the welcoming arms of the world, devoid of fear and armed with understanding, she turned to Jamie and said, "Let us make sure our truths shine brightly." Suddenly, a sense of urgency pulled her back to reality. An unseen force began to murmur this journey would resonate beyond their small town, touching hearts yet unrevealed. Now, dear friends, as you feel the weight of Sally's journey, it's your turn to embark on yours. Take a moment, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to keep this community alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions, share your own truths and theories. And please, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this powerful conclusion. This is the moment to support what resonates with you. Don't wait even one more second.